Hey Acers, it's time for our favorite time of the week again. Okay, favorite time of the day. I get to talk to you again about something cool. And first of all, I'll start off with my D&D session last Saturday went pretty well, I thought. I actually stayed on target and kept fighting when was getting the crap beat out of me, and for some reason, I actually ended up surviving longer than I think all three of my compatriots went down at one point, and I had to pump bottles of healing potions into them. And then I did a thing where I tried to do the classic make a rope trick and just sit and shoot arrows out of there, but um, it's kind of ruled that you can't do that. I think it's still it's been a trick that everybody's done for a long time. I mean, if nothing else, wrap the rope around your foot, lower yourself down a few feet, shoot an arrow upside down, pull yourself back up. I don't know. Um, and in D&D Fifth Edition, apparently you can split your movement now, which is cool. So um, I I'm a little behind on my write my first adventure thing as far as the lessons go, but as far as word count goes, I'm at 2,175 words, and well, that's counting the up stuff, um, but I'm doing well. I think I should have the adventure written. Um, I think I'll make the end of the month deadline. But that being said, I just found out today that one of the pieces of art that I was hoping to be able to commission, I'm not going to be able to do. I would have found the money to do it because if you guys ever get a chance, get out there and see some work by my really good friend Steve Argyle. He is absolutely amazing, possibly one of the best artists for science fiction fantasy I've ever seen. And chances are you've already seen some of his art. He's done stuff for Star Wars and for Legend of the Five Rings, and he is one of the main artists that does artwork for Magic the Gathering. So if you play those kind of things, you've probably seen Steve Argyle artwork. I'll link his I'll link his stuff down below. So I talked last time about riffs and about the failure that it was for me. So I'd like to, before I move into Tales from the Floating Vagabond, which was the first game that I owned that was a success to run. Let me talk for a second about champions because I think that was the. I might be wrong. I might have played a little tiny bit of Redbox without my parents' knowledge. And then I played Champions with my buddy Bjorn, and a lot of it was creating lots and lots and lots and lots of characters down in his basement. I don't know how he got so many printouts of the character sheet. I think that we did a lot of them on paper. It was also during that time that I did Warhammer 40K. I loved the Eldar. I got really into the not only into the Eldar but into the Harlequin army because at that time the Codex Eldar allowed you to play the Harlequins as an army and as a subset army of the Eldar, and I liked them, and I liked um, the Warp Spiders. They were pretty cool because they had that gun that they could teleport in, shoot you with a monofilament thing that went in the chinks of your armor, then went inside and scrambled you up, and then pulled back out, and then they teleport back away. So they're pretty cool too. But champions, and I it's been long enough since I've played it that there's a lot of things about the special rules and everything that I can't quite remember. But I do remember liking the point buy system that was in place to be able to build your character. And I made some pretty cool superheroes that way. One of my favorites, whom I still remember, was Funk. See, at the time, I was definitely a fan of X-Men and Spider-Man and the other stuff, but I really liked X-Men. And since as long as I can really remember, psionics has really been my jam. I love the idea of somebody who can, and then you go, as your brain starts to melt or something like that. I can't remember where I first was exposed to psionics really, but I still remember and I still love psionics. I still love. I mean, I'm getting ready to this coming Sunday. I'm going to get a chance to play in a Titan Effect game, which is basically that I guess terminal list kind of thing. You know, that kind of special ops feel, and mix that with psionics. Mix that with people who are biokinetics, so they have danger senses and wall walking and things like that. So you could basically make Spider-Man using those rules. Um, the so biokinetics, um, psychokinetics, who include telekinetics, but also like pyrokinetics and stuff like that. You got your ESP, your espers. They of course are your remote viewers and things like that. Things that really the government actually did research into those. And then finally you have your telepaths, and I'm really excited to play in this game. Saturday, I'm also playing a Star Wars game. So Saturday afternoon, I'll be playing a Star Wars game, and I'm pretty excited about that as well. Sunday is the 24th, of course, so um, we're gonna actually have probably our fireworks on the night of the 23rd, which means I'm gonna be dog tired for church on Sunday morning. But hey, you know that's life. Um, let's see though. Yeah, the Champions really was, and we had I think we had it was second edition or maybe it was just still first edition, but we had Champions that was it was there. Okay, so it was there, and it was pretty. It was a just a really cool game. We actually did get through some adventures and some challenges and things like that, and occasionally we'd have somebody else. Occasionally we wouldn't. Most of the time it was just me and Bjorn, and he'd run a lot of solo advent or a lot of one-player adventures for me. That was also the time period where I got introduced to still what I would classify as my most favorite game in the entire world when it comes to video games, or at least the template for possibly my favorite game, and that's Master of Orion 2. And you know, and the thing is that it's okay to play video games. And yeah, we'll let them call themselves gamers, but we were here first. And that's where you can get some really good ideas. Like Master of Orion 2, I love the idea of I would always play that race. Bjorn and I kind of we customized it and made a super intelligent race that could get all the toys as quick as possible. And then you just build these big Death Stars that have a phasing cloak that can phase out of reality, and so they're completely cloaked, and the enemy can't see where you're at, and you can just basically have a fleet of Death Stars that can all come out and just with their big cannons just go boom and blow up ships just one shot at a time. Where usually it takes a bunch of shots, and it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool setup. But I think I do remember fondly those times playing Champions with Bjorn, and it kept me going. It kept me moving through, and I definitely, I definitely was a fan of role playing by that point, and that's really where I fell in love with it. Bjorn was very good at actually playing a character and making the opposition fair. You know, so there's not many game masters that can pull that off. I don't know that I could. And making it so the opposition against the characters is a fair opposition that allowed us to be able to have a story. Because like I've said before, as fun as success is, it's nice to know that failing is a safe thing to do. And that kind of it leads me to one of the things I love about role playing, and that is the focus on the goal. Yes, there are role playing games out there where people can indulge in whatever sort of thing that they want to do. And you can have characters who are whatever kind of character you want to have. I mean, that there's all sorts of really cool things out there. But like for example, we were just on our Discord server for Savage Interludes, and I will remember to link a link to their website here when I post this. So actually, I'm going to take a note on some of the stuff that I've said. I'm going to, you this is not a paid advertisement at all, but if you're a game master, you want to own a Rocketbook. These are the handiest tool that I've ever had in years of game mastering. So I'm going to put up Savage Interludes. So now I've written that down. But I was just thinking that when one way that we can avoid interpersonal conflict in role playing, because we're a team, we're friends, and we accept all people here, but we don't want to let our individual differences get in the way. I mean, like I have I have experienced growing up on a goat farm, growing up in the mountains, growing up as a hunter, growing up as just in the way I did, doing mountain man rendezvous and things like that. I have experienced firearms for a very large portion of my life, and I am rather adroit, rather good at shooting firearms. So I, and it's not, I'm not a gun lover. I don't like go out of my way and and tell people that if they don't believe in the Second Amendment, they're evil, horrible people and they should die. Nothing like that. I'm not a crazy gun nut, but I am a shooter. I'm a person who enjoys shooting. I enjoy going to the range and blowing stuff up. It's very therapeutic. But what I've noticed is that there are people who are just as much as I have friends that can get really militant about guns, I have friends that can get really militant anti-gun. And that is the cool thing about role playing is that those guys and I can all sit at a table together, and if we realize we're getting into touchy topics, things that could hurt feelings on either side, we focus it back on the game. And that's because it's kind of been a running theme lately about safety at the table and things like that. And that's what we do is we focus it back on the theme of what are we here to do. That's how like SEAL teams and stuff, that's how they accomplish things. They focus on the goal, and anything that's not taking them toward the goal, anything that's just distracting, taking traction away from getting that goal, they put it aside. And they own their part of getting to the goal. And that's what we do. We own those things. So just as kind of a next thing, I like I said, I mentioned Champions. Champions is and it's a good superhero game. Mutants and Masterminds is one that I own now, but I haven't had a chance to read through it, and I actually have already packed it away until we get the move done. And I don't own the PDFs for it. I'll probably go on Drive Through RPG and get Mutants and Masterminds. Incidentally, Drive Through RPG is going to be one of your best friends as a game master of any system because it gives you a chance to buy the PDF, and especially like right now, they're doing Christmas in July, so you can probably get the PDF for pennies on the dollar. It's cheap, dirt cheap. Get on there, find the PDF, buy it, let it take up a little tiny space on your computer, and read through it. See if you like it. Transfer it to your phone. Use Google Drive or whatever to transfer it to your phone and read it. I can definitely say investing in a hard copy of Savage Worlds is probably worth it, but at least having a digital copy is handy. And the fact if you buy it from Pinnacle instead of like from Amazon, which I love Amazon, I've gotten some great things there. But if you buy it from Pinnacle instead of Amazon, you get the free PDF. And that right there makes it worth it because having that as a quick reference is so handy. There's so many RPGs in the past that I really wish I could have had in PDF, so I could have just quick searched them. But then again, I didn't even get a computer that could actually look at PDFs until basically about 2007. I mean, I didn't have a decent computer or access to one for many, many, many years of my life. And that was the other thing, is that role-playing games took my mind off what I didn't have in my life and showed me what I did have. And that was great friends who wanted to tell a story with me. So be nice to each other, focus on the goal, realize that that's what we're at the table to do. That's what we're at the table to experience, is that fun, that story together. And yes, everybody's going to get to see a different version in their heads. But we, as game masters, are the makers of the music and the dreamers of the dream. I am working on my Dark Days of Neverland. And it's going to be a fun adventure, I hope. It's growing. One thing that I've done that I think is pretty cool, and I kind of got this after watching a little bit of a video yesterday, is that I realized that I want to each scene that I write in the overall adventure first. The goal of the adventure is basically, I wrote in, here's what the bad guy's trying to do, and it's your guys' job to stop him. So that's basically what's going on. Like, as a quick example, if you wanted to redo Star Wars, because I mean, hey, everybody does at some point want to play Star Wars, and I have feelings both ways as to whether or not Star Wars is even an adventurable story, because the big question is, what can your characters do? And in Star Wars, there's not much left to do. If you just, and I'll get in sometime to the story side of it, and the fact that I can, okay, there are, in my opinion, 3.5 movies. 3.5. The three, of course, are Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I was a babe in arms for Star Wars. I know it's a lot, now it's called Episode 4 and all that, but I was a young child for Empire, but I remember seeing that in the theaters. Not many childhood memories, but I remember that. My little sister got sick and she had R2D2 underoos. Threw up, much like R2D2. So, and then 3, I remember Return of the Jedi. That was such a great movie. I had so many of the cool action figures, and then I got rid of them because I thought GI Joes were cooler, and I didn't think I was going to play with my Star Wars, so I got rid of them. I really wish I would have held on to them. I think I still have one left. I have Prune Face. Um. Anyway, my point five, my okay, it's almost right, is Rogue One. I liked a lot of the action in it. The characters were kind of a little reprehensible. The war was actually their Star Wars, and seeing Darth Vader open up like a buzzsaw at the end, just wah 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 wah. That was great. But wow, I just did not care for the stories of episodes 1, 2, and 3. Um, George Lucas came up with a great setting. The world felt lived in for Star Wars Empire and Return of the Jedi. The world felt lived in. It felt old, and it felt like it was a long time ago, a galaxy far, far away, in a galaxy that had been running and spinning for millions of years already. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 were too clean. I mean, gosh, that I agree with one of the comments. I think it was Honest Trailers, um, or maybe Pitch Meeting, that stated that the graphics in episode 2 look like a PlayStation 2 cut sequence, and not that's not a very good compliment, especially today's day and age. Those effects just did not age well. I can only think of one movie where the whole thing was done in green screen that basically still is weathered well, and that's Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow. But there was so much green screen in those original trilogy or the prequel trilogy, and don't even get me started on the dumpster fire that is the sequels. So with all of that, to do Star Wars, here's how I approach it. First, Skywalkers are out, all of them. Anakin, Luke, even Obi-Wan, out. Well, Obi-Wan can still be around, but and then the basic way to give your players a Star Wars experience is to say, okay, you guys are, make them all Jedi or something like that, or put them on a planet that the Jedi characters are going to. Even make one an apprentice to the lead Jedi, and send them down to this planet where the Trade Federation. I stole a lot of the ideas um, from Belated Media. He's got a really good set. However, as this is a channel for teen game masters, as my first primary audience, don't watch them. The first one you can squeak by because he's got one without the swears, but the other two he didn't do without the swears. And yeah, your parents would shoot me for encouraging you to watch them. But the basic version of it is that, and I will give you a full non-swear version of it in my next video. I will write that down, actually. That's going to be my next video, is I give you the full breakdown of Star Wars. Okay, but the reason why I bring this up is that ultimately, to make Star Wars happen, the same background beats, the same goals of the overall story arc need to be there. There's this guy that, taking a page from Belated Media, he is um, no longer a senator. His name's Palpatine. We can leave him in. But Senator Palpatine is gone. He's now head of the Security Council, head of the liaison group between the Senate and the Jedi. The Jedi are like galactic sheriffs. They're the peacekeepers of the galaxy. The Senate sets the laws, and in the middle, you have the execution side of things, the executive side of things, and that's the head of the Security Council, and that's Palpatine. And that is where the story begins. You throw your players into that. You can send them on similar story beats to what was in Star Wars, or you just let them try and figure out how they're going to stop this evil plot conspiracy from within to take over the Republic and turn it into the Empire. And I'll also get into something that my son and I have had many wonderful hours of discussion on, and that is, that's him back over there. That is the fact that I do not buy that in 18 years we go from the end of the old republic to the fully functioning empire. I don't buy it. But that's me just getting ready to talk about it. So I will get back to you on that. I will be ready to go with that tomorrow, and I will be glad to talk to you then. And I'm always glad to talk to you guys. And if you guys want to make comments and get a hold of me, my my email's in the comments down below, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have because I still have lots of questions. So stay curious, game for good, and we'll see you next time on Ace Role Playing Games. Achieve, create, and entertain because we're gaming for good.